Welcome back to the Commute. I am Shannon.
I'm Andrew.
And you're going to talk
We are
from your
going to.
diaphragm
Yep,
again.
I'm going to speak loud. Do you ever notice when you hit play, how we both kind of like wait for the other one to speak first?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost always me that speaks first.
You do always, yeah.
Because my
Our
patience. It's patience.
Our fearless leader.
It has nothing to do with that.
Hey, calm down.
It strictly has everything to do with I have no patience.
Fair.
Jordan, on all these like videos and stuff that I do, she's always like, "Can you like stop before you just like end so I can try to get like one normal screenshot of your face?" Because I'm always like just talking and then I just go straight to close or end.
Yeah, I'm just you're like saying bye as you tap the stop button.
Yeah, because I'm like done. Next thing.
I probably could have went the back way and not dealt with any of this traffic.
But you know what's going to be great? It's going to take us a little bit longer to get to the office, and there's not going to be a lot of sound.
That's true.
So I bet our recording
Other than
is going to be
yelling
great.
at the people for honking on the interstate.
Yeah, there was actually 2 trucks that honked just then. So today we were going to talk about the difference between buying a resale and a new construction, and then I'm adding to that building on your own.
Yeah,
like
land and building.
Yes, because those are 3 very different things.
Yeah.
So how should we start that?
I think we could probably talk about just like pros and cons of each one. And we could start with new construction, right? Like, I think you go new construction,
regular
resale,
new construction with like a builder.
Yeah, and then end it with building on your own, because you're going to talk mostly on that anyway, because you're the only one that's you have multiple times the first-hand experience of dealing with that.
So what is a pro then to buying new construction with like one of these builders that has a subdivision ready to go? There's 2 phases though.
Yeah.
Building from scratch in those, or buying something that's already standing in those.
Yeah. Well, I think either one of the pros people think about is new roof, new HVAC, new water heater. Mm-hmm. They're warranted. They won't have to worry about it for probably as long as they live in the house. They like just living in something that's new, never before lived in, I think is what a lot of people go for. Right now, one of the biggest pros is probably interest rates. You get a lot of seller's concession or built into the cost. You get a lot of concession so they can buy down rate or not have as much out of pocket other than whatever their loan calls for. Yeah. And that could lead to a whole nother conversation about preferred lenders and all that fun stuff. But so all the incentives, everything's new. You typically aren't going to have to do anything major for about 5 to 10 years. Right. So those are definitely pros. What are some of the cons? Some of the cons, naturally it's always going to vary per builder, but when you get into the lower price new construction, some of those builders aren't like the most, we'll say, they don't build the best quality of homes sometimes. Like you see these D.R. Horton homes sometimes that are, not to call them out, but like, like just on the news, they talk about how flooding and roof leaks, and when they actually get an inspection, the whole house is framed wrong, or like there's gaps in between the framing and the joists and everything like that. So
gone up too quick.
Yeah, just trying to build them, and not actually having any quality behind the builds.
And not to like totally defend all the crappy builders, but there is this element of new construction. Things do happen that within that first year, settling, stuff that can't really be prevented. Sure. I had a client, their septic tank rose out of the ground because there was so much flooding and it didn't have time to like settle in. Builder came back and fixed it. It was fine, but stuff does happen. So don't think that there's not gonna, like, a new home is a perfect home, right? Because that's definitely not the case.
But people don't think that though. People think new home, nothing's gonna happen. That's like one of the pros they think about it,
right? And they feel like they're not gonna have any major expenses when really things do happen. But we had our one client, major roof leak, builder was terrible, never came back, and I mean it started leaking within 6 months of her being there. So that was a big old mess. Okay, so now what about resale? Pros and cons.
Pros is there's like, I think there's more available, so you kind of like I don't know. I think there's more choices of the type of home you want, the style of home you want. Because like right now in our area, you're going to get a Craftsman 2-story or a Craftsman Ranch if you're buying a new build.
Right. Maybe on a basement.
Maybe on a basement. Maybe some with a brick front. But that's like it.
Yeah.
Whereas like resales, you got some wiggle room on price usually.
Still going to get some seller concession currently in our market.
A lot of times you'll get a better quality of home. Sometimes like a better built home.
Right.
Like I think the house that we're flipping in Winfield is a better build than some of the new constructions that are right down the road. Right? Like the new constructions that are right behind it. That house is built better than those homes.
For sure.
All it's four-side brick, stuff like that. So I think that's probably the biggest benefit, I think. Like I tell all my buyers, you'd rather almost a 19, like almost if a well-built 70s home that's been rehabbed with new windows,
100%.
Buy that thing all day over a brand new build or something that was built in the 2010s.
Yep.
Because those things are built so well, they're going to last, and you're going to have very little problems out of them.
Yeah. So what a con, but then I want to ask about the resale new construction, which is kind of what I just mentioned a second ago. But first, what are the cons to resale?
Cons to resale. Well, as a consumer, you mean? Like buying it?
Yep.
Cons to resale.
Why wouldn't I just buy a new construction?
Well, I mean,
or why would I want to buy so what are both the con? Why wouldn't I want to why is new
construction better?
Yeah.
Right now, honestly, the probably biggest ones I would say would be interest rate.
Yeah. I kind of agree.
Like right now, if you're going to buy a home and you want to buy new construction, the biggest benefit is some of these builders are going to give you a 4.9% interest rate or something.
And 10,000 more closing costs.
Because they know it'll appraise because somehow it does, and they can have that all built into the rate, built into the price of the home, so that you're out of pocket little and you're probably saving $300 a month on your payment.
Right.
So I mean, like that's probably right now the real only positive of it. Other than roof, if it is a well-built home, new roof, new HVAC, new water heater, those are all pluses. Plus, if you like an HOA community, usually the newer construction homes have a lot of times, like a better setup HOA community than older communities.
Yeah. I think the one, I know I was asking for cons, but also in resales, the neighborhood is typically established.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see what it's going to look like. Yeah. You can see,
not
that it won't have change and turnover, but you kind of see a little bit more of what you're getting.
Yeah, well, and you can kind of project equity-wise.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest con with new construction. Who knows in 5 years what that community is going to look like? Yeah. So is your equity actually going to grow as much as you hope it will?
Right.
In all reality.
Yeah. So, so now when you're looking, that was resales and new construction, the positives, negatives on both. But what about in the new construction subdivision where a home is completely finished? Mm-hmm. So in essence, not a resale because it's still brand new, but it is fully finished on the market versus going into a builder and saying, I want this floor plan on this lot. Maybe the differences and the pros and cons.
Well, I think the pro is you can actually see it and feel it and be like, okay, we know how big our living room is, how big our bedrooms are, how big the bathrooms are, because it's so hard. And I just talked way too fast, and Jordan's going to get mad at me for that. But I think when you're just looking at it on a blueprint, 12 feet by 12 feet, but you don't really actually, you can't really realize how big that is.
Right.
Because you also don't know, well, is that blueprint from sheetrock to sheetrock, or is it from plywood to plywood? You know what I mean? So that's kind of that's probably one of the biggest questions, negatives about those two things. Like I would have a hard time building from the ground up.
Well, and also
if I wasn't getting a custom home.
Right.
Like I think a custom home's totally different than, here's our floor plans we have available.
Right.
Pick from one of those.
Well, and with some builders you can go in and they might have 5 plans. They're all built, so you can tour them and you can go in and see them. So now that eliminates that, right? You can still see it and all that. But what would be, to me, a negative then is you have timing.
Yeah.
You don't know. You say, I want, floor plan A on lot 28, but you don't know how long it's going to take, what phase, perking, permitting, and all that is. So I think time can be very misleading. And some of these builders will say, oh, 6 months, and it'll take 10.
Yeah.
So,
especially if you have a home to sell.
Right.
Or you have a lease.
Right.
And you're trying to time that perfectly because you don't want to pay to break your lease or pay extra.
Right.
And so it's a bunch of unknowns.
So, yeah, I feel like that's probably the biggest con to building a new construction in a subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you have any other questions about that or thoughts, comment, tag, add us, whatever, all that stuff you do on social media.
Well, probably also, sorry to jump in, but one of the other cons to new construction in general is like the price is the price. The builder, they're not going to do anything with fixing anything. I mean, you do get the blue tape meeting a lot of times, but even then, some builders can be that can be a hassle.
Mm-hmm.
And so, luckily, all the blue tape meetings I've gone to, the builders have been like awesome. Like they've done over and above probably what they really should have to do.
Yeah, and those builder contracts really protect the builder,
right? Like
100%. Whereas your traditional sales contracts in Georgia really favor a buyer, more so than a seller. Yep. So you got to remember that you have little to no protection when you are buying in a new construction subdivision. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the out of pocket is typically more if you're building in a new construction rather than buying one that's already built.
Right.
Either in the construction subdivision or out, because they usually want a pretty hefty deposit, especially if you're going to make any changes and you don't get that money back. It's non-refundable.
Right.
So that would be another negative to building in a new construction subdivision. So people will come to us all the time and they'll say, oh, I want to build a house. And when they say that, they are typically meaning they want to find land, buy it, and then build a house on it. And that, I would say, is probably the most difficult and the most expensive and the hardest to get financing for.
Yeah.
Because what people don't realize, it used to be, I guess back in the good old days, not since I've been in the business, but you could just buy a lot and put it up as collateral and they use that to, for you to get the loan and all. It's not, it doesn't, that sounds easy. It is not that easy. Typically they're only going to use a percentage of your land as equity, and you still have to be typically 80% loan to value, which means you have to put down 20% for the construction loan out of pocket. So it tends to be very expensive. And then 95% of the time, people are giving you, the builder will come in and he'll say, okay, here's the cost. This is what we're going to do. This is what the house is going to look like. And then in that, they give you a pricing sheet and they'll say, all right, you got 29 outlets or light holes. So we're going to give you a budget of $2,000 to go get lights. Well, if you are a regular consumer, do you know how much lights cost? I mean, now you know a little bit more, but in general, we don't know. I mean, I used to buy fans for $100. Now they're like 600. You know, it's just like, so without knowing, you could be over budget fast.
Yeah.
So I've built multiple houses now from scratch, and I have never come close to being within my budget of what the builder has given and said, oh, here, I'm like, oh, $2,500 for lights. Well, I spent that in one fixture, like in the foyer. Right, because
their budget's for builder grade, cheaper material.
And even if you do a more luxury and high end, you still, there's nothing tangible. It's hard for a regular person to put tangible items to the amounts that they're giving you. Yeah. If someone tells you, oh, you can spend $5 per square foot on flooring, well, that's great until you go to Floor and Decor and realize that you really like the one that's $7 a square foot. So it's very difficult, and it is so time consuming, and it is so costly. So in most cases, I would say it's cheaper to buy a home that you love and flip it, fix it, update it, because anything on a home can be fixed.
So going back a little bit, when that happens, you have your $2,000 budget and you go over, what happens there? You have to pay for that out of pocket?
Yep.
So basically, you tell him what you want, and that total goes up to $7,000. You basically have to just add $5,000 to give him $5,000.
Yep. So the last house that we just built with a builder would be our house in Blue Ridge, and that's we could do a whole podcast on that. But we'll just do it on this little part right here. Yeah. So I met with the last builder, the one that we finished the property with, And when I sat down with him, I said, whatever number you give me, I am going to be hands off. You are going to pick the lights. You are going to pick everything. So you're going to pick it. And here's the quality that I want. Here is the style I want. These are the looks I like. Gave him all that. And I said, make the budget fit that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not spending a dime over. He called me and he said, hey, there's 2 different light fixtures that you could choose for the foyer. Or I'm going to send you some light fixture choices. So he sent me a bunch. And I said, oh, I like this one. Okay, that one's going to cost $1,000 more. I was like, nope. Where's the one that's within the budget that you've already quoted? Because I am not spending not even $1 more on a light fixture. Like, we'll figure it out later. So there are some cases where you might have a smooth, easy deal, but that is so rare. So you've got to make sure you have money, like disposable money, if you are going to build from scratch. And you have to talk to a lender that actually does construction to perm loans, or you have to have a lot of cash. So, but if you have questions on that, make sure you reach out. Do not go meet with a builder without an agent. You want to make sure that you understand that whole process, and do not meet with a bank unless you know exactly what you're talking about, because even banks will sometimes not understand, like the communication can break down and you might not be getting the right answers. Because you might not be asking the right question. So yeah, new building from scratch on your own with a general contractor / builder, whatever you want to call them, is probably my least favorite for any consumer unless they've done it before.
What's the pros then, though?
You get, well, I would like to say you get exactly what you want, but that ain't true either.
Right. No, that's...
Because I've now built a few homes, and every time I'm like, oh, should have done this, or oh, I didn't do that right, or oh, I really wanted that. Oh, you missed a day? I missed a day going out to the property, and now all of a sudden I don't have a way to get from a bedroom to a bathroom without going through the living room. It's because I missed a day, and then it's too late, and it's going to cost a lot to go back and redo it. So, the pro. So the pro. I mean, you did have a lot of input.
Yeah, you can be a lot more hands-on with design and choices. That's probably the main pro. Yeah. You do get to pick floor plan wise too. Like,
yes.
So like you do get more of a choice on design and like even what you're getting. But I think honestly, you're never ever going to get exactly what you want. And probably the easiest way is to buy an existing home and remodel it. And the cheapest.
I definitely think it's the most cost-effective way, and you can still really get what you want by doing it that way.
You can find a shell. Needs. Yeah.
But I mean, I will also say I absolutely love my primary residence and the cabin that we're talking about. But they're still not perfect, and they were both headaches. I mean, I tell everyone I can build a house 100 square foot a month, because my house is 1,600 square feet in Atlanta, and it took me 16 months to build it, and still over budget, and still have mistakes that I nor the builder nor the companies that we subcontract it with like picked up on. And a lot of it just goes down to miscommunication, because people communicate differently. And so that, I mean, I think most people listening will understand that and know, like, whether you're talking to your spouse, a coworker, whatever, just small little things. Well, small little things on a house become very big and annoying things.
Right.
So our personal house, we met with a pool company and we decided, oh, this will be easy. Let's do the pool at the same time as doing the house. Easy. Make it so much easier, right? So like easy. Dirt's already like cleared, and thought it would be great. Well, the pool is actually over now 2 feet, so there's not enough turn radius to get either of our vehicles in our garage. And it was like, well, if we would have just waited till the house was built and then done the pool, we would be able to get in the garage maybe. So we have a 1-car garage, and it's now not technically a garage. It is a storage place at the current moment, but it was a gym at one point.
It was.
And now that's covered.
Now it holds boxes.
We gotta get that cleaned out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the cabin, I think really the only thing there was missing being able to enter the bathroom from the bedroom, the guest bed to the guest bath.
Yeah. Upstairs, you mean?
Yeah.
Or downstairs?
Upstairs. No, downstairs was planned that way so you could come in from the hot tub.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that kind of sucks.
That's not. Is that the? Oh, because they have to go all the way around
into the living room.
Yeah.
Through the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it kind of sucks. I'm gonna wait and see how many complaints we get through the rental company with that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Just thinking about especially now that it's done and people like you stay in there like, oh crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of people are gonna be like, they'd rather stay downstairs.
Yeah, because then it's like you have the whole downstairs. You can run across the little kitchenette bar area down there and be fine. Anyways, it is what it is at this point. I can't change it or fix it, so.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, and I asked, but he said the way the trusses are built and everything, we can't really change it. Which I don't know if I actually believe nor understand.
Yeah.
But that is what I was told, and so I can only trust the person that told me that.
Yeah.
But eventually, it's going to be a rental. So if we decide we love it and that's where we want to go and stay longer, we may get someone else out there to see if there's a way to bust a hole through.
I'm sure. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I believe that.
Throw a beam in there. Yeah, they're already throwing a beam in there. Oh, throw a beam in there.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time believing you can't just cut a hole in the wall.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
And I caught this at framing.
And they still couldn't do it.
He said he couldn't do it.
Huh.
I think I actually have pictures of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. But
what can you do? There's nothing you can do, apparently.
Maybe nobody will even realize it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they love the view and everything else so much
a nice view.
that they won't even care.
Yeah. It's a nice setup.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Wonderful. So, other than that you didn't even know until I mentioned it.
I mean, I would know if I ever went.
And stayed there.
Yeah. But at the same time, probably not, though, because I'll probably end up staying downstairs. Interesting.
Huh. So, anyways, we cover resales, new construction, building on your own, including resale in a sale that's already standing in a new construction. So, anything else on all that?
Nope, not really, other than buy resale. In all reality. Unless interest rate.
At the end of the day, we would rank resale as your best value, best bang, best everything, just because of long term. And then secondary would be buy new construction already completely built, if possible. The third would be new construction, build from the ground with the builder. Also, you don't need a construction to perm loan with those type. The builder finances it, and then you buy like a resale would, same kind of closing process. And then fourth would be build from the ground up on your own land and enjoy that headache.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess that's it. What are we supposed to say? Thanks for listening.
Follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah.
All the socials.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
That was the Commute.
Give us a
5-star review.
5-star review, that too.
Yeah.
And hopefully the sound is getting better.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Bye.